Hello, my friend, and welcome to today's episode number 96 on snack attack in PCOS. PCOS. Well, to snack or not to snack, many PCOS women love to snack and are secretly wishing I offer you to continue snacking. Well, so in this episode, we are going to talk about why we needed snacking to begin with, who needs to snack regularly, why to stop snacking, how to stop snacking if weight loss is desired, and how to stop snacking or look at snacking if you have lost the weight and are in maintenance. So let's start with that. I can't believe it that I have never done a podcast or an episode or any content on snacking. This is one of the foundational tools of my weight loss program. Everything I offer here and to my weight loss clients is something I and many others have tried, and I offer it after exploring the mindset behind it. So let's look at it. Why do we need snacking? Like, why we needed snack as humans? So, as children, food was not just our fuel, but was our coping mechanism for all the negative emotions we experience as children, like right from our birth. Mothers use breastfeeding to feed us. And she was like literally breastfeeding us on demand, and children more or less cry every 2, 3 hours. So, the breastfeeding that is even recommended is like demand feeding or feed every 2 to 3 hours. So, mothers were feeding us every 2 to 3 hours. And they continue to do that until we transition to solid foods. Plus, that breastfeeding was also accompanied with skin to skin contact, where the mother was holding the baby, there was skin to skin touch, the baby feels safe. So, there was a lot of connection which happened for the initial 1.5 year when we were breastfed. And that's the genetic coding, right? That's why we feel so good when we touch other humans. That releases that oxytocin. Now, children, unlike adult humans, were growing really fast and were bumping and hurting and falling sick on a regular basis. Like, if you have ever witnessed a child who is being raised in front of you, like your sibling or your nieces, nephews, or any children around you, see how much they fall on a regular basis. And they need food for their recovery. And that food, they also needed, which also acted as an emotional support, as most mothers didn't know how to support their children emotionally. Like, most mothers didn't know what emotions are, like before mindset and therapy and psychiatry and all of that came into the picture. This whole conversation about mental health started maybe like in last 20 years, 20, 30 years. So before that, mothers had no clue what is emotion, right? They knew emotion means crying. So many children were either force fed or not fed at all. So many kids whose parents had the time and money to give attention to their children, they would really force fed their children. And especially, they will keep on doing that so much that even when the child is not interested in food, these children never really experience what true hunger is, and they continue to do that. Like, many of them don't know what hunger feels like because they have always had food given to them, or they themselves have consumed it even before they got hungry. Like my child, she's literally fed every 3 hours, and I've never heard her say, Mama, I'm hungry. Like, she's 5.5 years old. Until we both, just she and I, we went on trips. We did 2 trips together. Once we went to London alone, and once we went to India alone. And where my focus was like taking care of everything, right? Like, I couldn't just like focus on feeding her all the time. So I tried to feed her only when she asked, and she asked. Before that, she never used to ask. She would be like, stop feeding me. But I'm unable to follow the same sort of system at home due to her father, who's at home, who wishes to feed her constantly. Like, he really believes that something bad would happen if she doesn't eat every 3 hours. She's a growing child. We don't want to like screw up with her mindset around food, but he doesn't understand that that is the problem. This kind of feeding constantly, force feeding, can also screw up with the mindset. But then I have to balance it out. Anyway, that is my work in progress. So there are these kind of kids who have been constantly fed. And then there are those kids who have had no food, like poor children who have no food, or sick children who have food but they just can't eat because they're so sick, or that food is not absorbed, or kids whose parents are not feeding them for whatever reason. They have the money, they have the resources, but the parent is like thinking something else, right? Those kids would eat constantly due to the sheer scarcity of food. So that is the mindset behind how children eat. Either way, children were either offered snacks or needed snacks. As adults, we didn't really snack. I'm talking about like 20, 30 years before, right? Like, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and we didn't have a snacking concept. There was breakfast, there was lunch, and there was dinner. And even in school, there was only one break, which was lunch, which was basically some small snack. And later there was another break, which was introduced for like 10 minutes or so, which was mainly a bathroom break, just so that we could move a little bit, or like the teachers got some break. It was only for 10 minutes. So as a student, I saw myself snacking, not at school, but at home, like secretly snacking to cope with my studying stress. I was literally hooked on weird things like ketchup. Like, there was one time I finished ketchup, and then there was this other time when I finished Horlicks. Horlicks, it was like a protein powder, which was fully sugary. It was just powder. I just used to finish a bottle in a day. There was a time when I would just have like these imlis, which were very sweet. And all of these things really got me sick. Like, I would overdo it and I would get sick. So I stopped doing it invariably. But then sugar was one thing that didn't really cause me a direct problem. So I just continued doing it. It was very weird. It was not really offered to me. I had to sneak around. Like, I had to ensure that my mom or my dad doesn't come to know. They don't come to know that I'm doing this, because my parents were never okay with snacking actually. So that was our upbringing. We were not given snacks. Even while growing up, like while I was studying as a student, um, we were studying. So either you were in college, or you were in canteens, or you were in library. And in the library, it was not acceptable to just eat. It was not allowed to eat in the library. So if you wanted to eat something, you had to physically get up, go to a ladies' room, or go to a canteen and eat there. And there were not much options available. It was all like, we had this whole concept of like, eating in a restaurant is not good. We don't know how they make it. And that is a very important concept. But when we are kids, we don't realize that. And we continue doing that. We have zero connection with what is happening in our body. But my father, because he was a doctor, he would constantly like tell me that don't eat outside, don't eat outside, don't eat outside. And somehow that was remembered, but then I would still eat it. So the snacking habit started when we got the freedom, when we are out of our parents' house. And as a doctor, when I started working for other organizations, we were never really offered official lunch or dinner breaks, because we work in, like, even if I have a clinic, which is like loaded with patients, it will always go over time. So the lunch break is invisible. The sisters will go on some weird lunch break, and there will be another nurse who will come to replace her. But doctors never get replaced because the patients need to see their doctors, right? So the clinic, there was no lunch break. Same for OR or labor unit or emergencies. Like, there will always be patients. So we would never get official breaks to eat. So we would eat when there is no patient or if someone relieves us to eat, which was rare. But that's what was happening at work. There was really that scarcity mindset that there's going to be no break. So you need to eat whatever you can. And then that's what happened in most organizations. They would have a pantry where there'll be always food available. People will keep going and snacking in between times. And then we would eventually get a break. It's not like we're not having lunch. We would get our lunch. So we would snack and then we would have lunch as well. It's later on I got to know about these three official breaks that everyone was entitled at work when I had my kid, because I was trying to find out when can I pump for my breast milk, for my child. So I found out that there was a 60-minute long break, and it was like every employee had the chance to take that, like depending on like two coffee breaks and one big lunch break, or just like a one big break. But that changed regularly depending on the manager of the unit. So people started snacking during those breaks, like during the official tea breaks, or they just were like constantly snacking. I was also constantly snacking. Like I was like literally working in between snacks. So either we were doing that or we were having tea, coffee, or a snack while we are working when there are no more patients around us. So we started bringing food into our work life to cope with our daily stressors. Students, so people were working with food around them, so that food became the stress buster. Students were munching on candies so that they could like they started thinking that this candy is going to energize me to study again, because it feels so shitty to try to memorize things or try to remember things or like try to revise and or to even grasp new information. People at work were connecting with their bosses or their juniors with food, because everyone knew, like at least in Asian cultures, like we believe that the way to someone's heart is through their stomach. So that was like proven, like isn't that what it is, right? So food and snacking became our rescue at home, at college, and at work. And that's why snacking started, right? And that's where the whole culture of snacking started. And also, there are people who believe that the whole snacking culture was propagated by the media industry, because they were launching out these snacks, right? Like um, there were many ads which were promoted as snacks, like foods were promoted as snacks, like everyone needs a snack every 2 3 hours and all, and they started it. So there's a conspiracy theory behind that as well. But let's not blame the media industry for that. We have to take responsibility for why we do what we do, right? And we wanted to cope with our emotions, and they just knew exactly how to tap that aspect, those emotional vulnerability that we experience at work. So let's come to the next topic. Who really needs to snack regularly? Now, as grown as adults who are fit, right? Like in their normal body, we don't need snack. It's children who are growing, they need snack because they really need nutrition. Like there are malnourished kids also, like who have no nutrition, but they would have growth hormone and they will continue growing even with minimal food. They might get sick more often, but they will still continue growing. But it's children who need basic protein rich meals, right? They need carbohydrate because they're going to burn it all. Sick children need more food. Diabetics who are medication, adult patients who are diabetics or who are hypertensive, who are on medications, they might need food, because the medication can suddenly bring the sugar down and that can kill them. So they need to check their sugars and they need to eat something, right? Or even a hypertensive, the blood pressure can come down. We might need a salty snack or an electrolyte solution to bring the blood pressure up. So any sick patient might need um, to snack. Those who are underweight, BMI less than 18, anorexia patient, they have like big problem with food anyway. So those who are underweight, they need to snack more, right? They actually need to snack. And many lean PCOS women who are thin, they need to snack on healthy, nutritious snacks. And they don't have problem. They don't have problem with eating. They really don't eat. They don't like food. So They will take whatever it is that they can take, and they're just like surviving on whatever. They just genuinely don't like eating. So lean PCOS, thin PCOS women actually need to snack on healthier, nutritious snacks. Then who else needs to snack is those who are sick adults who are going through sickness. Like when COVID happened to people, right? Like people would just give each other food because that was like no matter how much you ate, like you needed a lot of food to feel better. Constantly, a lot of food we needed to feel better. So any sort of such strong illnesses might need us to eat more, to recover from that illness, to recover from that sickness. Also those who are recovering from surgeries, right, they need nutrition to come in so that there is no there is no deficit, because the organs which are healing, they need that sort of healing substances to come in. They have lost a lot of blood, they have lost a lot of organs sometimes, and they are recovering. So we need to provide that nutritious food for these people who are recovering from surgery. Then those who have fast metabolism, some people who are always sweating, they're always like doing, they're moving, and these people are more or less normal body weight, so they need to continue snacking because they really thrive on that food, because they are again up and about. And lastly, those people who are athletes who are exercising regularly, who do competitive sports, or who do physical work in their occupation, like lifting things and all, they really need to eat something. Like chefs and in culinary industry, they move a lot, they lift a lot of weights and stuff. So they need to eat more food if they are like normal body weight. If they're overweight, they might not need, but if they're normal body weight or they're underweight, they might need to snack regularly. So most PCOS women, not the lean PCOS, most PCOS women are actually overweight or they have some sort of disordered eating. We want to clean all that up with mindful eating practices. PCOS women, even during pregnancy, don't really need to snack. They don't. We can get enough nutrition in 3 meals a day. That's how we did, right? Like this whole snacking started like maybe 20 years or 10 years. Before that, people had successful pregnancies and successful children are grown up. Like I'm here, right? Like my mother was not eating so much in her pregnancy. There was no food. They were probably poor. So 3 meals is more than enough for any pregnant woman to sustain. And if you're not pregnant, we can get enough nutrition in 2 meals a day that is sustainable for the rest of our lives, right? 2 meals a day for not pregnant is good enough. 3 meals a day is good enough for you if you're like normal body weight, no complications. If you have diabetes or something, you don't really need to restrict your meals, but you need to ensure that you're eating well in between 3 meals. And if you feel dizziness in between meals, like sit down, maybe your blood pressure is coming low, maybe your sugar is really high, so bring it to your doctor if you experience any sort of symptoms. But if you don't experience any sort of symptoms, apart from slight dizziness, and your doctor has said that it's all okay, your hemoglobin is okay, your sugars are okay, your blood pressure is okay, then I think you just need to sit down, because most likely it's the blood pressure which is coming down because of the uterus and all the organs, and you're just losing balance, and you should be okay. You don't really need to overeat, right? So the next topic, why should we stop snacking? Now this is like, I don't know how long you're listening to this podcast or this, whatever I teach, but I keep repeating this and it's important. Please understand why I recommend no snacking as much as possible for PCOS women, especially, or those who have those who are overweight, those who have diabetes in the family history, those who are having obesity in the family history, right? Because we all have insulin resistance. Our cells are not working to insulin. So whenever sugar comes in our body, that insulin is not working to push the glucose in the cell, right? Whenever food comes in the body. So that glucose needs to go in the cell and needs to be used as energy. It's not going in properly because of insulin resistance. So that sugar just keeps floating out. Okay. And the way to reverse insulin resistance or to correct this condition is by bringing the insulin low, right? Once you bring the insulin low, your cells become insulin sensitive, and that whatever glucose you're eating, it will go in the cells and it will work better. So we do that by eating foods which don't produce high insulin spikes. Now, every carbohydrate, every food will actually produce some sort of insulin spike. Carbohydrate will produce insulin spike, protein will produce insulin spike, fruits will produce insulin spike, vegetables will produce, nuts, dairy, snacking will all produce insulin spike. So we want to have these foods which increase our insulin only during our meal times and not in between. Also, we want to consume a meal which is rich in protein and fats, because the insulin spike with that is not so high compared to a processed carbohydrate or refined processed foods, like anything which is made of flour and added sugar. That's just going to like spike off your sugar, right? So we don't want to make your meals carbohydrate rich, but we want to make your meals protein rich and should have some good fat in it, as that would produce a moderate insulin spike that comes to normal in 6 to 8 hours. But if we snack on foods that produce a high insulin spike in between our meals, what happens is insulin keeps spiking. Like when you have beverages with sugar in it, like tea or coffee, or you have a soda which is sweet, or even diet soda, there is some sweetness to it, right? It's going to produce an insulin spike. Juices, fruit juices, smoothies, shakes, nuts, seeds, chips, they will all produce an insulin spike. Insulin will rise again and will never come to baseline. So, if we are having 3 meals a day and 2 snacks or desserts, then the insulin really never comes down. Maybe it will come to baseline in our sleep just about in 6 to 8 hours after the last meal. But by that time, it gets too low. We wake up and then we have our breakfast and then we start eating again. So the insulin continues to be high and it worsens our insulin resistance. It never really comes down, it's constantly high. So for us to lose weight, we need to bring the insulin down, and we do that with intermittent fasting. It's the best thing, because what happens is with intermittent fasting, we try to have 2 meals very close to each other. So whatever insulin rises, it rises after those 2 meals, and in 6 to 8 hours of fasting, it will start accessing, I mean, literally the glycogen stores in 12 to 16 hours. It will, like, of the fasting, it will go to the fat stores for energy. So you need at least 12 hours of fasting minimum for your fat to be melted. And if you are fasting 16 hours, your fat will melt more. So from my side, it's a no to snacking for PCOS women who wish to lose weight, right? That is like the fastest way. Some of my clients want to have low glycemic index snacks in between. And they are like, no, I don't like intermittent fasting. And that's not something which I want to do. But I always ask them, like, why? Why to eat less? Like, because you can either continue snacking, but then you'll have to reduce the meal portions, or you don't snack and you get to have your regular meal portions, right? So I always ask them, why do they want to keep their snack, right? We know you have enough fat on you to lose weight, and we need that fat to be used as energy so that it is lost, right? So that you lose the weight. That's the whole goal. So if you want to snack, you're gonna like just delay your weight loss. Like if they are hiring me for weight loss, the best way to do that is by not snacking. And that is the work, right? Like I want to know why you want your snack so badly. Because what we want to do is we want to reduce the food intake for weight loss to happen. So some of these clients will try for 2-3 weeks, to include some of the snacks. But my process of teaching weight loss with the mindset, the mindful eating, is like you need to write down whatever you're eating, and they get fed up of writing so many things. So they are like, okay, they start eating lesser. So that's what happens when it comes to weight loss, right? And I'm going to talk more about how to keep snacking on your plan if you want to at the end of this episode. So let's come to, like, suppose if you want to try to stop snacking, if you want to desire weight loss, how do you do that? Now, intermittent fasting is a beautiful concept which promotes no snacking, right? Where either you have one meal a day, or you have 2 meals a day, or you have 3 meals a day, right? Now, it's not just snacking, it's the fasting in between the meals, but you also want to like eat lesser quantity of food, not like overeating in every meal. So, why I recommend intermittent fasting is because it is sustainable as our elders. I'm talking about just our parents or like their parents did that, and many of them are living a healthy life. Now, many believe that it is hard to stop snacking. And every time we believe that it is hard to stop snacking, we would find evidence of how hard snacking is, how hard stopping to snack is, right? And I want to offer you that maybe it's easy to stop snacking. Now, we easily avoid snacking when we are really busy with something, right? Or when we are sleeping. We don't wake up in the night to snack. Although I have woken up in the nights to snack. So some people do that. And I used to do that when I was overweight. So the goal is to continue sleeping, not to wake up to snack. Now, it is something what we do easily. Like we don't eat when we are sleeping, right? So it's possible that we as a human being, our body can handle no snacking. It's possible that we would be fine with no snacking, but it's going to be a journey. There are going to be days when you can easily avoid snacking, and there are going to be days when you will unconsciously snack or you will consciously snack like a rebel, and you'll be like, I just want my snack. And all of it is okay. As long as you come back to committing to no snacking the next day, right? Like, as long as you're doing the mindful exercises of like finding out what did you eat, why did you eat that, did you eat beyond your fullness, and what will you do tomorrow, right? If you just ask yourself these questions after every meal, you would develop that mindfulness, that awareness around how you eat and why you eat, right? As long as you commit to coming back to that journal and finding out why you snacked or why you didn't snack. So we need to find the sentences why you do what you do in our mind that make us snack. All those sentences can be changed with some reasoning, right? Like most of the time we have a sentence like, I can't handle this, I just need my food. I don't feel good, I need my food. I don't think this is going to work, I need my food. I just need my coffee right now, right? Like it is weird sentences like that. And we need to change those sentences, and we can change that by just like speaking back to our mind, like, why do you think you can't handle it, right? But many of us don't do that, and that's why the coach comes in the picture, because the coach I will actually ask you, like, hey, why do you think you can't handle it? You can do hard things, right? So many of you will struggle with it, as snacking is your actual solution for the daily emotional stress. There's nothing wrong with using food to cope with emotional stress. Trust me, we have done that since our childhood. But now, the food that you're consuming to cope with your stress is harming your health. And also, we are no longer children. We don't really need food to cope with our emotions. We are adults and we can handle our emotions. Unfortunately, no one has taught us the skill of handling our emotions. And if you want to learn emotional stressors, listen to episode number 58, where I talk about PCOS and stress. That might help you a little bit. When you stop using our snacks, like what happens is, when you stop using your snack as a solution to not experience that emotions, what will happen is all your emotional problems will come up, right? Like because you're not allowing yourself to eat the snack. So all that stress, that anxiety is going to come up at work or in studies. And we have an opportunity to solve this emotional problem one by one. And if you need my direct help with solving these emotional problems, please set up a strategy call. I help PCOS women deal with their emotional problems, which keep them from eating healthy. So the first step is to stop snacking, which will reveal your emotional problem. And then once you find out, okay, this is the main problem actually why I want to snack, you can bring that to the session. And I help you or my client to use your own beautiful mind to solve it. And that's how we solve one problem at a time, one meal at a time, one snack at a time. Lastly, do we need to stop snacking if we are in maintenance? Well, I'm someone with PCOS and I've lost weight like around 22 kilos 5 years back. And I must say, every time I did that by no snacking, but every time I introduce snacking, say whenever I go on vacations or when my mom is here, I start snacking. It just happens. I come back to like a more weight, like I gain weight whenever I start snacking. And once I stop snacking, I come back to my normal weight. That's just what happens. So, snacking actually means extra food in your body, right? Which converts into fat directly. Like, what is happening to that food? It's not getting used up. Like, you can sustain on 2 meals a day. So, whatever extra you eat is all going to get converted into fats. Where else will it go? It's not coming out of your shit. Trust me, your body is going to keep it. So, so that's just like every time you snack, once you have lost weight and you start snacking again, you're going to gain weight again. Also, what happens is when you remove flour based food, sugar based food, dairy, snacking from your meals, your brain gets used to that pattern of eating. You don't really experience hunger in between meals anymore. And like that just happens. And I want you to try it to know it. Like it happens. Like you don't experience hunger anymore. You get pretty well adjusted to 2 meals a day. But still, if you want to try to include snacking in your maintenance, do that very consciously. Remember to journal your meals, plan your meals and your snacks ahead of time, and weigh yourself at least weekly. Check on your digestion, check on your allergies, check on your skin and acne, your hunger, your irritability, or periods. Keep a check on those things when you introduce snacking. Your body will never lie when it's not feeling good. I like to see there is discomfort on both sides, right? There is discomfort of not snacking, or there is discomfort of that emotional and physical discomfort, which you're trying to suppress with snacking, right? Check which discomfort would actually help you move forward towards a better future. Is it avoiding the snack and dealing with your emotions, or just not dealing with your emotions and just like eating to feel better, and then that food just like keeps on accumulating on your body, causing you health issues? I stopped snacking on solid foods and anything that can produce an insulin spike 5 years back. And I mean it. Like, I don't do that like at least 5, 6 days a week. Like, actually, I don't do it at all when I'm in my routine life. It just happens when either I have guests over who are staying over with me, or and they are snacking, or when I have guests over again for like few hours, I'll just keep on eating with them, snacking, 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 or when I go on vacations. So I still need some sort of comfort during the day, even on my routine days. And what I do is I plan black coffee or tea before 3 p.m. Then I'm like having green teas or herbal teas or even salty lemonades, just like some lemon and some salt in it, which will energize me when I'm feeling that low BP sort of thing. Sometimes I have sparkling water or soda, just soda water, not like flavored soda, just soda. It has no sugar in it, or I have cold water, or sometimes I just have plain water. I notice more than hunger, I'm actually thirsty. And water feels delicious when you know you are thirsty. So, it is very easy to stop snacking when you know you have a yummy, balanced, nutritious meal coming in few hours because you planned it, right? So it's not just about stop snacking. I want you to take care of yourself. Like when you decide that you're not going to snack, I also want you to decide to plan a healthy, nutritious, delicious meal that you like. So it is time to change this habit of snacking and stick to no snacking for the rest of our lives. So if you are someone with PCOS, you have lost weight in your past and gained it back, or you never really lost the weight, or you're underweight, anything, and you wish to clean up your mind around food, solve your emotional problems, please book a strategy call with me. Let's see if we can work together. All right, my friend, that's it for today. I will see you next time. Bye bye.